July 28th, 2021. Baltimore County police pull over a beat-up car just outside the city. At first, it's nothing unusual. Expired tags, no registration, fake template, the kind of thing officers see every single day. But when the driver steps out, the stop begins to feel off. She's nervous, snappy, talking too much. Her name is Nicole Johnson, a 33-year-old woman. The officer writes the ticket, but something lingers in the humid Maryland air. A smell. Thick, sour, rotten, coming from the car. The officer hesitates. Then, against Nicole's protests, he pops the trunk. What he sees will haunt him for the rest of his life. Inside are trash bags, layers of plastic, and within them, the small, decomposing bodies of two children, a girl just 7 years old, and her little brother, 5. Their skin mottled, bones fragile, hair matted, their small frames twisted into the unnatural stillness of death. And Nicole Johnson, their aunt, stands by the car, silent, almost indifferent. This is the story of how two innocent children, Joshlyn and Larry, were betrayed, abused, and discarded, and how their aunt hid their tiny corpses in her trunk for more than a year, driving them around as if they were nothing but garbage. It's a story of family secrets, neglect, and pure cruelty. A story that forces us to ask, how did no one notice? And what turned someone into the kind of monster who could do this? To understand how things spiraled into this nightmare, we need to go back. Back to the fractured family that tied Nicole Johnson to Joshlyn and Larry. Nicole wasn't a mother herself, but in 2019, her sister, Sherry Johnson, was struggling. Life had hit her hard, and she wasn't able to provide stable care for her kids. Like happens in so many families, the children were shuffled into the hands of a relative. That relative was Nicole, their aunt. At first, it might have looked like a temporary fix, an overwhelmed mom leaning on her sister. But from the very beginning, cracks were obvious. Nicole had no steady job, no stable housing, and, according to relatives, a short temper. She wasn't the kind of woman you'd want raising two fragile kids. Yet there they were, little Joshlyn, a bright-eyed girl who loved to play, and her younger brother Larry, just learning his way through kindergarten. Thrust into an environment they couldn't control, depending on an aunt who didn't see them as blessings, but burdens. Nicole was known to have violent outbursts. Neighbors reported screaming matches, fights, arguments spilling out into the street. Behind closed doors, things were worse. The children, already small for their ages, became thinner, quieter, hungrier. Joshlyn weighed just 18 pounds, the size of a toddler, though she was 7. Larry, at 5, weighed only 21 pounds. Both were dangerously underweight, showing clear signs of long-term neglect. But no one intervened. No social worker checked in. No school flagged their absence. The pandemic blurred routines, and these children slipped through the cracks. And then, in May 2020, something irreversible happened. Nicole later told police the story in chillingly casual detail. She claimed she lost her temper with Joshlyn, that she struck her hard. And when Joshlyn went still, Nicole realized she had gone too far. But instead of calling 911, instead of trying to save her niece. Nicole wrapped the little girl's body in plastic, sealed it in trash bags, and placed it in the trunk of her car. And then she just went on with life. Imagine that for a moment. A tiny child, dead, lying in the trunk while her aunt drives to the grocery store, while she sleeps at night, while weeks turn into months. Her secret, riding with her everywhere. For almost a year, Joshlyn's body remained hidden until May 2021, when tragedy struck again. This time, it was Larry. Nicole claimed he simply fell asleep in the back of the car and never woke up. Investigators, though, weren't so sure. The truth is likely darker. What we do know is that instead of calling for help, instead of trying to save him, Nicole placed his tiny body alongside his sister's, in the same trunk, wrapped in the same bags, hidden under junk. Now, there were two children rotting in the dark, and Nicole, she just kept driving. For months, Nicole Johnson lived her life with the bodies of her niece and nephew in the trunk of her car. Friends saw her, family saw her, police even interacted with her before. But no one looked deep enough. By the summer of 2021, the smell had become unbearable. Neighbors would later describe catching whiffs when Nicole parked nearby. And yet, she did nothing. Until fate intervened in the form of a routine traffic stop. The night was humid when Baltimore County police pulled Nicole Johnson's car over near Eastern Boulevard. At first, it seemed routine. No license plate, no registration, no insurance. The kind of stop that usually ends with a tow truck. But Nicole was restless, irritated. Her voice snapped as she told the officer she was just trying to get home. Her story didn't add up. When the officer explained that her car would have to be towed, Nicole muttered words that now sound almost like a confession. It don't matter. I won't be here in 5 days. Y'all are gonna see me on the news. The officer didn't know what to make of that. But the smell, rancid, sour, crawling into the nose, made him take a second look. He moved to the trunk. Nicole protested, said it was just trash. But when the latch lifted, there was no mistaking what was inside. 2 small bodies wrapped in trash bags, plastic, and blankets, bones poking against skin. Decomposition advanced, the smell of death radiating from the trunk. The officers staggered back. Others rushed in. Nicole Johnson stood by silently, almost cold, watching the chaos unfold. When asked, she admitted it. Yes, the children were her niece and nephew. Yes, they'd been dead for months. She said Joshlyn had died back in 2020, Larry in May 2021, and she had been driving around with their bodies in her trunk ever since. The officers placed her in handcuffs. What began as a minor traffic stop had unraveled into one of the darkest cases Maryland had ever seen. Dash, dash, dash. Autopsies revealed the true horror. 7-year-old Joshlyn weighed only 18 pounds, her little bones fragile, her organs shrunken from starvation. 5-year-old Larry weighed 21 pounds. Both children showed signs of severe malnutrition and neglect. These were not sudden deaths. These were the slow deaths of children who had been deprived, beaten, and starved. Detectives dug deeper. They learned that Nicole had been given custody informally, without oversight, without legal checks. Their mother, struggling with her own issues, had left them in Nicole's care. And Nicole treated them not like children, but like burdens. Family members later admitted they hadn't seen the children in months. Some thought they had moved. Others simply assumed Nicole had things under control. But in reality, the kids were already gone, hidden in that trunk. In interrogation, Nicole gave conflicting stories. She admitted hitting Joshlyn, saying the girl wouldn't listen. She claimed Larry simply fell asleep and never woke up. But detectives weren't convinced. Her indifference, the casual way she described wrapping their bodies in plastic, stuffing them into the trunk, and then continuing to drive the car for more than a year, painted a picture of cruelty and detachment. One detective later said it wasn't just the crime, but the coldness that stood out. Nicole seemed more annoyed about being caught than about the fact that 2 children were dead. Nicole Johnson was charged with multiple counts, including first-degree child abuse, resulting in death and neglect. The evidence was overwhelming. For years, the children had suffered. Their weight told the story. Their absence from school told the story. And finally, the trunk told the story no one could ignore. In February 2025, Nicole stood before a Baltimore County court and pleaded guilty to 2 counts of child abuse, resulting in death. She showed little emotion as the judge handed down the sentence, life in prison with all but 50 years suspended. Effectively, Nicole Johnson will serve up to half a century behind bars. She will likely die in prison. For the community, the case left a deep wound. 2 small children, failed by everyone around them. A mother too overwhelmed to protect them. A system that never checked in. And an aunt who should have been their safety net, but became their executioner. The family of Joshlyn and Larry mourned quietly. Community vigils were held. People asked how something so horrific could go unnoticed for so long. And for many, the image remains burned into memory. A battered car pulled over on a summer night, a trunk slowly opening, and inside, the small, silent bodies of 2 children who never had a chance. Nicole Johnson's name will be remembered for the worst reason. Not as a protector, not as family, but as the woman who carried death in her trunk. Joshlyn and Larry should be remembered instead. A 7-year-old girl who should have been playing in 2nd grade, making friends, living life. A 5-year-old boy who should have been learning to read, riding bikes, laughing with his sister. Instead, their lives were cut short, their voices silenced, and their story stands as a grim reminder. Monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes they live in our homes. Sometimes they share our blood.